This episode is brought to you by
Co-creation.
Welcome to the latest edition of Leadership Actually. It's not love, it's leadership. This is the messy class of leadership. Welcome, Lisa Powney.
Welcome, Lee Rogers. Oh, the devil are you. I said it differently though.
You did, you've changed it up.
I changed it. Definitely.
You changed her. That's what we'd say in our house. Really good, really good.
Looking good.
Well, why thank you, that's really kind. Yeah, really just, I don't know, the sunshine makes a massive difference to
Oh,
it.
it does, doesn't it? Definitely.
Yeah, so enjoyed that over the weekend. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I've had a bit of a manic weekend though, if I'm honest. I've bumped my car.
Oh, no.
Yeah, bumped my car, lost my car keys, been a bit sick. But today I'm really good.
She's all right, a moment of
I'm
care.
all right, you know. Moment of messiness, always. But I'm good, yeah. And how's family and work life? And
Yeah, good actually. Busy week ahead, so looking forward to meeting loads of people this week. Different things, different projects, and not just like Martha and my wife all week. So I'm sure she'll be thankful of that, to be honest, that I'm out of the house for a little bit from under her feet. But yeah, all is well in the world so far.
good, that's really good. Well, in honour of our guest, and we'll introduce him in a minute, I've got a bit of a question for you.
Oh.
Yeah, so I've written it down. It's probably not as positive really, but here we go, because it's messy.
Okay,
A messy question. So when's the time when you look back and think, I could have shown up a bit better?
Have we got 45 minutes just on me saying that?
What, you got one?
Yeah, the reality is so often, but I guess in light of today's guest, there was, and it's quite deep, but my stepdad ended up taking his own life. Right, we'll put a trigger warning around this.
Yeah.
But before he passed away, he kind of, for the first time in his life, because we didn't always get on the best, but he kind of lent on me. And looking back, like for years and years, I like beat myself up around how I showed up in that moment. And I was relatively young, and I was just starting my teaching career. But I often think back and go, did I do everything that I possibly could? You know, did I spend the time? Did I show the interest? Did I have the conversations? And if I'm truthful with myself, you know, there's times when I definitely would have done things slightly differently. But equally, what I do know is that I tried my best with what I knew at the time.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, and that's quite, you know, gone woof into that. But being kind to yourself,
Yeah.
I think is the takeaway from it.
I think we do our best with what we've got at that time is a really important message. When I think about that question, actually, my mum came up, actually. She's not with us as well, bless her. But I think there was a time, like before she left us, love her, where she was older and she was asking for lots of stuff and she probably wasn't in the best place. And sometimes I think, oh, did I give her, you know, the time that I wanted to give her? So yeah, that was the first one that came up for me. And then, you know, work stuff, you know, you get really busy and I'll probably notice, I'm really good at noticing, but sometimes you're kind of trying to fit that into the time scales and then time passes and you think, oh, I wish I'd gone back and spoken to that person or done something more. And also as a mom, I guess as parents, you know, sometimes we miss the mark. I've missed an event for Freddie and I've like, oh God, I think I could have shown up better and been prepped and planned and do those things. So we try though, we do our best, you know, with what we've got, don't we?
Yeah, and I think it's really important to say for whether it's parenting, whether it's leadership, is you do your very best within the right intent. Do we always get it right? No. But how do we acknowledge that, you know? Like, for example, what I really value about you and what you've taught me is to protect the space of like a weekend and not message. or get in to protect yours and Freddie's time actually.
Yeah.
So it'd be very rare for me to contact you over a weekend to say there's this or there's that.
No, you don't.
And I've tried to do that more and more of other people and be really conscious of it.
Yeah.
I don't always get it right.
No.
But it's definitely got in my own mind around when do you contact people.
Yeah, that's a really nice. Well, thanks, Lee. Thanks for that. Value you a lot too. But it's not all about us today.
No.
And today's guest, we've been really privileged to be part of their world and experience it for ourselves. So I'm going to let you introduce Dave.
This guy has got the best surname in the world. This is Dave Scholes.
Hi.
Hi, Dave. Welcome to Leadership, actually.
Thank you.
You are one of the most genuine top blokes I've ever met in my life. And the impact you have on other people is unsuccumb in lots of ways. And I think your authenticity in how you do what you do is pretty epic.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate that.
And very, really in a humbling way for an amazing cause and purpose that we'll get into today. And it's just been a privilege to get to know you. Lisa and I have been on one of your training courses. You're done in a t-shirt.
I am done in a t-shirt. Yeah, let's brand it up, shall we? Let's
We
not,
should have had ours.
You should,
actually.
yeah. We need to work
We've not heard ours yet.
No, that's true. You haven't finished the course yet. You only get it when you finish the course.
Powered by Mate. So I guess tell us a little bit about you. But before we do that, what's been a messy moment for you?
It's interesting when you were talking about your messy moment, because again, the reason why this exists, and we'll talk about it a little bit later on, is I lost my best pal to suicide, and I think I've gone through multiple messy moments in my head, probably through that process where you do go through that element of what could I have said, could I have done something different, and it actually was quite a big part of me, I guess, coming out the other side of this journey, for want of a better word, realising that I was never going to get it all right, even knowing now more than I did then. My job was just to be a mate, and I think in some of those times I was the mate, just being me. And the messy bit sometimes is in your own head, isn't it? I probably have messy moments every single day, because I'm rubbish at looking after myself, like we all are. I'm the last person to look, even though I know what I'm doing in this space. Do you know what I mean? And I think, when you were talking about that question then, I think it's the point of stopping and going, I just need to be better at just stopping and pausing and breathing and going, hiya Dave, are you doing the right thing? Is this for you? Is this the time to reach out? Is this the time to look after yourself? And all those kind of little bits that I talk about in our training all the time, it actually comes back to pointing the finger at yourself a little bit, doesn't it? So I've got the deep messy of those bits of going, could I have done things differently? I probably could. There's probably a million things I could have done differently. But equally, I've learned to focus on the things that I did really well. Just being a pal when I was at a wedding with him, or buying him a pint, or doing all those mate things without beating yourself up. And that's a focus thing, innit? You've got to take the time to be kind. It's the be kind bit, innit? Be kind to yourself in the messy, because we're not perfect, are we?
And can you imagine how he would feel now, seeing the impact you're having on other people?
Yeah.
With a bar in his name, with a beer inspired by him, and a movement that is going and has potential to go way beyond anything that's out there at the moment.
It's such a weird thing, because I miss that all the time, because you're in it, it's yours. I probably don't give this enough credit for some of the daft, crazy places we've been with this. And it's really interesting you've asked that question. We did something just after Christmas, actually, when we'd opened the bar, and like you said, that the bar in our co-working space is named after my pal and all that kind of thing. And his parents came up to visit the bar. Yeah. And I've always chatted to Ian's sisters and his parents. Whenever I've done anything slightly left field, like I'm going to put a bar, some beers into, Weatherspoons or something, like I always run it by them first just to get there okay. And they said, we'd love to come up and see the bar. And this then escalated into, we were in a band at uni, me and my pal, so it was like, oh, can the lads from the band come up? Yeah, they can't. It ended up being a uni reunion. It was brilliant. Like, some people I'd literally not seen for 25 years. And halfway through the night, Ian's dad said, can I say something? I was like, yeah, if you want, no problems. And one of the things that he said in this was, the first thing you said to me, Dave, when you set this up was, you want to keep one person on the planet. That's what you're setting out to do. If that's what it does, it's done a good thing.
Wow.
And he said, I don't know why I need to tell you, and I don't know why I'm saying that. He said, you've done what you set out to do multiple times over. And I was just in a space of going, this is never big enough for me. It'll never be big enough. It's a legacy for my mate. I can never create the thing that is good enough for him. I can't.
Yeah.
And I have to accept that I can't, because he deserves something bigger than anybody can create. But it was just a grounder of going, that's what you said you would do, so you've done a good thing. And when life comes in and gets busy, you miss the good thing and the purpose. And it was Ace, they'd been up to the lakes and they'd found this thing that had his surname on a picture, and there's a picture now of my pal in the bar that just explains what Carter, the surname's about, and all this kind of stuff. And it was just that moment where somebody else came in and went, you're doing all right, pal. And that's it, innit?
Yeah,
you sometimes
absolutely.
need somebody just to come in and go, you're doing all right, pal. And that was it. Yeah, absolutely. Huge. Huge thing. He probably didn't realise just how huge it was, but right person, right place, right time, right conversation was absolutely key.
Wow, that is amazing.
And then I had to leave for like 10 minutes because I was just nearly going sobbing in the toilets.
Yes.
And my mum and dad were there as well, and my mum's like, are you all right? I was like, yes, I'm fine. and then disappeared off. Yeah.
It's a wonderful story.
Thank you.
But for people who haven't heard of you before, can we do a bit of a rewind? That's my rewind.
Brilliant, I loved it. Very good rewind. Please do it again.
Thanks. And take us back in terms of your story. Kind of what did you do before you got to where you are now, and how did you get into, and I know you've told the story about your mate, but how did you get into being where you are now? What's your story?
Yeah, it was really on the back of that. So my background initially, I was in the world of creative. I left uni, randomly went to work for an organisation that did sportswear for universities. I just didn't want to leave uni. I thought, let's just go and sell sportswear at universities. Ended up veering into the creative side of things, and set up a creative business with my brother and two mates. Basically, I had two pals. One was a graphic designer, one was a web designer. They liked getting the crayons out. I like people, so I did the bit in the middle and they did the colouring in, was pretty much how it worked.
Brilliant.
Fell into the charitable world. A pal of mine was setting up a charity. I was kind of falling out with creative because it was more about money, less about people. Gave me the opportunity to go and kind of help them out with some marketing and do some stuff in there. I'd been there a week, ended up starting to deliver on some of their personal development programs, so work with kind of ex-offenders, primarily males, lads struggling with drug and alcohol issues, homelessness. So I had this really weird world for a long time of creative marketing business and dealing with some of the toughest scenarios on the planet.
Yeah.
And then literally from nowhere, my pal's not on the planet anymore. And I kind of went through that journey of weirdly kind of going, it's my fault. That was my initial, like, this was a guy I went to uni with. We saw each other 2 or 3 times a year. It was weddings, reunions, all that kind of stuff. So we weren't geographically close. He was down in London. And that was my journey. And I found some really good professional support. Some that wasn't so good. Not that it was wrong, it just didn't work for me. The person didn't work, the counselling didn't work, or whatever it was. Helping the lads through the charity was a massive thing for me. Investing in other people was huge. But I just had this group of mates that kind of went, look, Dave, can't fix it, can't necessarily understand it or make it better, but if you want a brew or a beer, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And over a number of years of having those 3 things, finding stuff that worked for me, having this group of mates there, and having the opportunity to help other people, kind of started this little process in my mind of going, wait a second, I've found a load of great stuff in and around this mental health and wellbeing space that's good for me and good for other people. A lot of it is there, but people don't know where it is. And And I just started to think about things, you know, why don't we talk about this subject when we're doing okay? Why is it only something that we talk about closer to crisis or after crisis? Who's helping the mate, like my mates, who wanted to do something but didn't know what to say or didn't know what to do? Yeah. And yeah, why can't this be as comfortable a conversation in the pub as who's playing up front for United this weekend? Why can't that be a thing? Yeah, and I got out of bed probably 7 years ago now and went, right, I'm going to create a legacy for my mate. Yeah. And I'm going to save the world. And everybody went, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know, but they're the two things that I'm going for. And I think I'd seen some gaps, I think, in my own journey, realised that being just a pretty standard lad from Burnley, I'd learned a load of really good signposting stuff, which wasn't necessarily about what was available, it was about the people that were delivering it. Yeah. It was about relationship and pointing people in the direction of options, not telling them what they should do. So I thought, right, if I can do this, then anybody can do this. Can we create training programs that are a little bit more than just tick boxes? Yeah. And can we actually get this conversation into pubs and coffee shops and places where people normally have a conversation, so that it becomes a normal part of things when we're doing okay? Because in my very simple head, I was like, if we talk about this stuff when we're doing okay, if the challenge ever comes in, it becomes a more normal conversation. And then, yeah, it's just veered off into different directions. So Powered by Mates is the tagline. That was the thing. How do we create this wraparound support network for everybody? You know, for all the great counselling I got, it was only a small part of my life. And I was going back into work and family and friends. So if that could be part of my support package, then brilliant. And that was the plan, and it's kind of disappeared off in multiple different directions and grown a few legs, it's fair to say, over the years.
Where did you start, though? So you jumped out of bed and said, I'm going to have this idea. So how did that develop? What was your first few steps to get it going?
The initial steps were just going back, I think, to looking at what had worked for me. I'd got this thing very much about being in the corporate world. I wanted to do education, grassroots sport, charity and corporate, because they were things that mattered to me. Yeah. So my wife's a teacher, I'd always played football, but there didn't seem to be as much in the corporate space as there was for the community space. You know, I'd done fundraising for years and bid writing for support programs for community, but the workplace stuff that I'd seen was very much, let's create wellbeing champions, let's do a training program, let's do mental health first aid, all of which were great. But I was like, is it being bought in for anything that's more than a tick box?
Yeah.
Are the people that are doing this program, are they the ones that should be helping people? Are they going on the program because they don't want to talk to their workspace about the stuff that's going on, so they've gone to find out more for themselves? So it was about creating something. I mean, the business model was horrendous. I wanted to create something that worked when we weren't in the room. Yeah. So the initial idea was, how do we create something that people stop paying for because it works, and the people in their space are helping the people in their space, but equally they're going in and embedding that into the football club that they support, or the kids team that they run on a Saturday morning. So it was just, everything was just big. Yeah. And I just hung around with some good people and went, okay, Dave, let's start to put this into a bit of a plan. What does the training bit look like? What does this bit look like? What do the beers look like? So yeah, we kind of created this idea around, how do we create some products that people would use over conversation? So I created biscuits and tea and coffee and beer. Like, did the most Lancashire thing on the planet. What do I like to use while I'm having a brew? I know, all this stuff. And didn't want it to be gimmicky, so we created a brand that can sit alongside Starbucks and all those kind of things, but they all had a QR code on them. And it's not complicated stuff, this. The QR code, you scan the QR code, it takes you onto some digital support that can kind of help you and help you mate. It was just about, how do we ease this conversation in? Here's the beer that we are going out to have a chat over, and here's a QR code that you can scan loudly or quietly to get some help. So all of these ideas just pop in, but actually it just comes back to this be all and end all of, how do we just make these conversations that are still a little bit tough, even if you know what you're doing, a little bit more comfortable. And that's kind of where we've gone.
Amazing.
And it's partnership stuff now. That's kind of where we you know, doing
Powered
the beers
by Mates as partners.
Absolutely. You know, doing the beers was a great thing, but we very quickly became a B2C selling business overnight. I was like, oh, no, that's not really what I've got it in for. Let's work with somebody that makes the beer, that can sell the beer. So it's all that kind of stuff. Very unbusiness-like, but brilliant in its own little creative bubble, I think.
It's more like a movement. That's what it feels like. Being part of it, it's more like a movement rather than it's not just about training and education. It's trying to really shift the way people think and bring that safety.
100%. I think movement's the bit that sits with me all the time, and people, even people that know me, try to put this into a business thing of going, how do people understand Six Connections? Because obviously Six Connections is the business, is the organisation, but Powered by Mates is the tagline.
Yeah.
And Powered by Mates is the bit that actually people resonate with. So when I talk to businesses about some of this stuff and leaders about some of this stuff, actually what they want is their staff to be powered by mates. But Powered by Mates is sometimes a little bit too big for people. So they have to go through a training program to become powered by mates. So we've had to shape things and move things around. So they kind of want this very corporate Six Connections scenario.
Yes.
But really, at the end of the day, if all your staff are more comfortable talking about this subject, we're creating businesses that are powered by mates. So it's created a lot of thought processes for me. It's delved into my more creative side, it's fair to say.
Absolutely.
I think what I love about that from a corporate space, though, and I've been in a corporate setting up wellbeing foundations with wellbeing champions. There's been the whole debate about mental health first aiders. Is it kind of takes away hierarchy. You know, mental health first aider is a one single person, or is 5 single people within an organisation that get all the load put on them. Like, where do they go?
100%.
Right? Equally, it's Powered by Mates is like for everybody, that everybody can access all of the time and upskill people at whatever level. Because there's a misconception that, you know, within the lower ends of an organisation, hierarchically, if I look at pay grade, you go, well, that's needed for them. I absolutely know people listening to this, that leaders and senior leaders, some of the most important conversations they will have is around mental health or mental ill health or anywhere in between. And they need this just as much, if not more often, because we talk about leadership being a lonely space, that you haven't got time to offload or space to offload to people. Where do you take not only just the running of a business, which is really tough, or being a teacher or a nurse, like where do you go? Where's your space? Where's your tribe?
Tribe's a great word. And again, I think because of how my head works in this space, I kind of go, right, okay, what's the absolute dream scenario? And my dream scenario when we started to plan some of the business stuff was, wouldn't it be brilliant if the apprentice could walk in on a Monday morning and ask the senior lead, the most senior person in the business, how they were doing?
Yeah, amazing.
Which goes against every rule in the book. But I'm going, because it might be a connection because they support the same football team. It might be a connection because they've got a like-minded hobby. But actually, who says that can't work? Well, all we've done is create a structure that says that can't work. But actually, when I've worked with apprentices and younger people, their voice in this space is brilliant. Really open, a lot more understanding. It's a subject they've talked about as they've grown up. The main challenge with that is when it goes back into a business space, they aren't the voice that are necessarily the loudest voice, or they've not created a space where that voice can be heard. So when I've put leaders next to apprentices and younger members of a team, it's been an eye-opener for both people. The leader's been amazed by the openness of the younger person, and the younger person's kind of gone, wait a second, they've got the authority, so my voice can be heard. And I think, again, a lot of this stuff, certainly on the back of COVID, is that people bought into something for all the right reasons, but without actually a practical output of this stuff. So we're now finding a lot of people that have got brilliant mental health first aid systems and wellbeing champions and stuff like that haven't actually checked in on this stuff for ages.
No.
Because somebody's got a label or a title, and when you actually break it down, we ask the question all the time, how are your mental health first aiders doing? Oh yeah, they're doing a great job. I'm like, no, how are they doing? And then you kind of go away and go, well, we've got 10 of these and 4 of them are off and 2 of them work in the office and never actually because there wasn't a plan attached to it. And I think the space that we sit in so well is that we're not competing against this stuff.
No.
We're complementing it. So I'm going, have a brilliant 24-hour helpline, have brilliant mental health first aiders, have wellbeing champions and all this stuff, but also have some stuff outside of work. Because not everybody is going to want to speak in your workspace. Why? Because that's not their environment. If somebody's chatting, with a mate in the pub on a Sunday night over a couple of beers and they come into work on a Monday morning better because of that conversation, it's cost the workplace nothing. The workplace has done nothing about it. Why? Because somebody's found the space that works for them.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of where we're going. Just think bigger than your four walls about how do we actually create some conversations for the benefit of everybody.
And I think it's true to say, how often do we check in on leaders? You know, we're in a world where there's more employment is higher than it's been for a long time, and there's lots of change in organisations. When was the last time that an exec member went to their leaders and said, how are you doing through this change process versus how's the change programme going?
Yeah. And I think a lot of this stuff is about how we position it and how you think about it. So we've worked cross-section, you know, we've worked in legal industries, we've worked in manufacturing, so we've got a real cross-section of people that we work with. And I had a really interesting conversation not that long ago when somebody actually said to me, he said, I talk to you all the time about this subject, but I still wouldn't bring it out into my environment, primarily because of fear of what my clients would think about the service that we deliver. So that's really interesting. I said, because I've not heard any of that. What I've heard is you're really good at managing your mental health. Your team are aware of your mental health stuff and the challenges you've got. And as a business, you are set up and shaped to manage that if you need some time out or you need X, Y, and Z. I said, so as a buyer, I'm going into a business where I know that if the worst thing happens for you, your business still runs and provides the product and service I'm looking for. Versus a business who aren't being open about that, where their leader could fall apart at any minute, and because nobody else knows about it, the whole deck of cards falls down.
Yeah.
I said, what you've actually created is a superpower and something that's really beneficial about your business. If you need time out, your business still runs. Why? Because you've been authentic, you've been open, the people around you are your backup team, both personally and professionally. I said, this doesn't fall apart if you fall apart. But other businesses are hiding this stuff.
They are.
And when it comes out, it only usually comes out at a crisis point. It's not coming out when somebody's suddenly walking into a room and going, do you know what, I might think about talking about my mental health today because it's just a little bit off. This is a point where somebody breaks or something breaks, at which point the people around them aren't ready to deal with that. So it becomes the HR policies and procedures thing, doesn't it? And he just went, I've never thought about it like that. So
No.
you've created a structure that is ideal for you and ideal for all of your clients. You should be shouting this from the rooftops rather than not talking about it.
Healthy.
Just not thought about it like that. And people don't, do they?
They don't. It's
Because
really
it's not an
tricky.
open
It's tricky.
topic.
It feels really tricky, doesn't it, in our world? And I think this is a good point to actually think about those conversations. We talked about conversations a lot. So what is different about the way that you promote these conversations, and you know what stops on an individual level people from having them, and what can we do?
I think I've started to coin the phrase, it's a light approach to a difficult subject.
Nice.
So all I've really done is gone over the conversations that I've had in my own journey. What really worked for me?
Yeah.
What was great? What made me feel most comfortable? Who did I speak to? Who did I not speak to? Who've I got that I talk to now? And how do we recreate that so it works for the people? And I think this is just about creating a space that's comfortable. I think a lot of people box this subject into a space or time that works for them. It's the 20-minute one-to-one, it's this little room, we'll create the well-being space in our workspace. And I'm going, all of those things are good, but what if that's not where you want to have the conversation?
Yeah.
What if the conversation you want to have is with your pal who's a plumber before you go to football over a beer? You as a business can't shape that or create that, but you'll be spending all your money trying to create something similar. And I think it's about making it as natural as you possibly can. This, even when you know what you're talking about, this is still a tough thing to talk about at the highest level, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you can bring this in so it's just a normal part of the check-in's a little bit more of a, how really are you, than just have you had a good week?
Yeah.
When you know you can unpack the brilliant stuff as well as the not so brilliant stuff. And I think you can fluctuate from music to how you doing this week, to football, to what you're having for tea and all those kind of things. And I think the more we can do that and normalise it, it's a little bit like the moment in the kitchen at work or the water cooler, isn't it? That we lost maybe a little bit of COVID, just that little bit of a check-in over a cup of tea. The thing that works for you. We're saying to business all the time, don't try and force it into a corner that it's not meant to be in. If you've got 100 staff that don't want to talk in your business, as long as they're talking somewhere and bringing that support mechanism into your space, brilliant. But because people are uncomfortable with it, they try and force it rather than making it as natural as they possibly can. The more natural this conversation is, the more relational this conversation is. I think relationship is the key bit.
Yes.
The more open you will be in it. It's about feeling seen, heard and valued, I guess, for want of a better phrase.
And what's just sprung to my mind in that is, it's the ongoing piece around mental health. So when we use that phrase, and I go on about this all the time, mental health, what people are actually thinking is mental ill health.
Yeah.
So what can you do day in and day out that is proactive, that is positive about this stuff?
Yeah.
Versus, like you say, and talk about in terms of the crisis moment. And I love the fact that you're advocating around the everyday, so recognising out of work, home, parenting, because we're all assuming, leaders come in, don't they? They've got so much baggage of everything going on.
Yeah.
What do they do hobby-wise, or what do they do to chill out and listen to decent music or...
Absolutely.
Whatever.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this stuff as well is that, for me, it's always felt a little bit one size fits all in terms of the solutions that are available. So actually the practicalities, the more we've looked at this, is it's got to change per work environment. So if you are a teacher, you can't suddenly walk out of a classroom leaving 35 kids to go and have a 30-minute conversation about how you're doing.
No, absolutely
In that environment, it might be 10, 15, 5-minute pockets throughout the day. In a manufacturing business, you can't take 20 people off a production line to suddenly go through a training program. So it has to look and feel different. And I think that's where we've looked at it and shaped it and gone, this is about the small stuff, the little stuff. If we're trying to create opportunities for people to talk, this has to be the normal conversation that takes place with the person that you sit next to. The check-in on a Monday morning, not necessarily about let's put 20 people from senior leadership through a training program, because you might not have a relationship with that person, but the person that you sit next to or stand next to knows the footy team you support, knows what your kids are called, knows what you're having for tea. Why can't you bring this in? Why can't that be the check-in point so that it doesn't need to escalate to the higher level? I'm convinced that if this is only taking place at HR level, it's too late.
Of course it is, absolutely.
And often that's where it's designed to take place, isn't it? And I'm going, this isn't it. This is a Monday morning genuine check-in, equally for the person that you're checking in with to know what the options are as well. Because I think this is about making people feel more comfortable in the conversation, not just the person that's reaching out, but the person they are reaching out to.
Yes.
And equally, that person being able to say, you know what, I'm not great at the moment. I'm probably not the best person to help you right now, but this is available in work. Or let's reach out to that mate who's doing great at the moment. And that's, I think that's the bit we're massively missing in this space. It becomes about the few, not the many. And I think everything we're trying to do is about how do we make more people comfortable? When we go into a manufacturing space, which is primarily your stereotype of males, I'm going, if you were in a position to help your mate who was struggling with some stuff, would you want to do it? And everybody goes, yeah, of course I would. I'm like, right, let's start there then. And as we talk about this stuff, people go, actually, do you know what, I could probably think about that for myself. But you put them in a position of going, would you like to help the person you care about most? Yeah, of course I would. Right, starting point.
Yeah.
Let's do something with that.
It's a great grounding starting point. And loads of those things that you've said actually make really great leadership. If I'm going into an organisation and we're talking about culture, I'll often ask, do you know for your people, have they got a dog? Have they got any family? What's going on for them? What do they do outside work? Because if you know those things, then you are more connected on a human level, and you can start to spot some of those things, which are great as leadership traits, but also if people are not doing well, then you can work with them, which is absolutely brilliant.
It's relationship, isn't it?
Yeah,
if you don't feel seen, heard and valued in the space that you work with, the everyday stuff, why would you open up about some tough stuff?
Yeah.
You wouldn't. You never would. So why are we trying to force this thing up here without actually the word's culture, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you've got a great culture in your workspace, I am convinced that more people will talk about this subject. If you haven't got the culture of care and understanding and just giving people a chance to talk about some stuff that they're passionate about, why would you bother sharing anything else?
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where do organisations get this wrong then?
I think they're trying too hard. Genuinely. I don't know whether that's controversial or not, but I think they feel like they need to do some stuff, and I agree with that. I think they often are making decisions at a leadership level without actually finding out what people want and need. I think there's a bit of quick fix in there. You know, there's some elements in there that tick some boxes, and that's still a thing, unfortunately. But even the organisations that are coming at this from the right perspective and doing it the right way, I think it just becomes something that we have.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of people that talk to me at the moment about employee assistance programs and things like that, where somebody, you know, the challenges are different to how they were 5 years ago. So they've rung the EAP line and somebody on the other end of the phone's gone, no, actually, we don't deal with that. That's not what we do. The business has no idea potentially what that EAP does or doesn't do because they've not checked in.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think this is being reviewed enough. It's still very much, let's put some posters behind the door, let's do mental health awareness days, all of which need to be a thing. I'm not against any of that stuff, but it's like anything, isn't it? You know, if you see the same thing in the same space all the time, you stop reading it very, very quickly. And I think it's about investment. How much do you want to invest in this in terms of finance and time?
Yeah.
Is this as important as your marketing budget? If it's not, then you're a clown, because it needs to be, doesn't it?
Totally.
But just on that point, you know, really competitive market, highest unemployment, AI rollout. What do businesses get out of it if they do invest?
It's funny, you know, people talk about KPIs all the time and I roll and switch off because it's not my thing. But I've gone, right, wait a second, because this is important to people. I can't just be blasé enough to go, well, this is how I'm doing it. So I challenge you a little bit and go, okay, what's the bigger impact here? So I go back and go, well, what are the great outcomes for you? What are you trying to achieve here? And they go, well, we've got 400 members of staff and da-da-da-da. I'm going, right, okay, you've made it as small as your four walls, haven't you? What we're trying to create is something that impacts family, that impacts community, that impacts the wider life. I had a really interesting conversation only a couple of weeks ago with an organisation that have just done kind of a staff survey. And the feedback from the staff survey was that the biggest issues that people were having around mental health was nothing to do with work. The work environment was brilliant, the support was brilliant, the challenges were coming outside. Loss of loved ones, financial issues, life basically. And this guy went, I don't know what to do. Because we're doing everything right in the workspace, but actually this is nothing to do with work, it's to do with life. And that's what they are bringing to work. Of course you do, because that's what's going on. And I think that's been the shift. I think people have suddenly gone, wait a second, we might not have all the answers. And I'm going, you don't need to have all the answers. There's loads of stuff up here. We just need to make it available to people so that they understand what you can provide in the hours that you're looking after them versus the hours that you're not. Are you going to ring them at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night? Of course you're not.
No.
But if they need something, what's available? And I think that mentality is just very, very slowly shifting, just a little bit. So it'd be interesting to see where it veers.
The movement is really, you know, and I hope it does shift.
Yeah.
And we could talk to you forever. You do some amazing work, but I think it's really important, actually, we don't normally talk about ourselves, but we have been part of your training and some of this pathway. So I just want us to finish to talk about what it's really like to be part of your world, actually.
Okay.
Because I think it's we can say it firsthand, and I want other people to experience it. I think what you've created in the rooms that you bring people together, it feels like a really safe, good conversation that fills you up. You know, by the time that you leave, you're filled up. And I don't think I've ever talked about a workshop more afterwards.
Wow.
You know, where there's we see leadership stuff and lots of stuff every single day, you know. But I immediately go and talk to family or friends that I think about. I think, you know, and tips or things that I've thought about, or it triggers lots of, you know, different scenarios that I think, I could probably do more there, or I could reach out more. I've met some amazing people. Burnley is like one of those places where people love. I mean, it is just about in the northwest, but people, you know, that they're sort of you know, love being part of that, and that purpose is really, really there. And then the way that you bring it to life, your personality, you know, it's full of it, you know, Mancunian
I think so.
songs and songs and stories and anecdotes. You know, it isn't like a traditional training session by any stretch, in a wonderful environment that just makes it easy to be in. I have absolutely loved being part of it. I haven't finished it yet. We haven't finished it yet, but it is you know, a fantastic. It's not even like a training session. It's like a fantastic experience that grows and you know, and builds, and I look forward to being part of. I don't know, what's your experience, Lee? We've been it together.
I think that's been really special. You know, we've connected, we do this, we do a podcast, but we've connected on a different level, you know, definitely. And spoke about some, you know, tougher stuff, lighter stuff, joyous stuff, sad stuff, whatever. And that's nice to do. For me, and I've really reflected on this, it's made me a better husband.
Wow.
It's made me a better dad. Mm-hmm. And I think it's made me a better leader.
Brilliant.
And I say that because, like, I've asked myself the questions first, and I know you advocate this through the course of going, where are you at? And I got lazy with that. I know it, but I got lazy with it. And then particularly the last session on the art of listening, it didn't teach me any new stuff.
No.
Right? And I've done training that stuff out. What it absolutely hurt me was my daughter, Ella, and you'd hear me talk about Ella, and people listening to this or on the radio all the time. But it was, she said a phrase and she said, "Dad, you're not listening to me," about a week ago. And then I went on your course and was like, oh my gosh. And when you said, you know, you're trying to defunct someone's logic, and it's their logic.
Yeah.
And why I say it's made me a better dad is because since then, I've just listened.
Yeah.
I've let her have a moment. And don't get me wrong, it's built up with frustration, emotion, and an 8-year-old's world.
Yeah.
8-year-old.
But I've allowed that world to flourish as opposed to closing it down.
Brilliant.
And that's been really important for me to reflect and go, I can be better. And how many times then have I done that as a facilitator? Yeah. And then all of a sudden I'm going, there's real growth. But I think you've got to be in a space where you want to learn.
Yeah. You're
open to learning. You know, hearing some of the stuff from other people. It's often the bits that are like what other people say, and you bring back and you go, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And the final thing I'll leave on, like the best mates, like I've checked in with more mates since the start of this programme than ever before. And I was always good at it. I'm not one of those that goes, we should meet up and never put a date in the diary. I'm like, right, when? When are we meeting up? When are we having a beer? And my best mate, dad, is end of like next day or two. And he gave me the biggest hug that I've ever had from him. And he's an introvert. Yeah. And he just said, thanks for being there. Yeah. And we've not said that much to each other. But we've been on a golf course. I've listened. I've shut up for once in my life. And just really special moments. A glass of wine here, a game of golf. Yeah. And I had to clear some stuff out. Yeah. Because that became the priority. Just to support him in his world. You know, when you were talking about there's the other stuff going on. And I know he'll remember that for the rest of his life. And I think the course helped me just to tune in on that. Yeah. More than ever. So, you know, a massive thank you. And I can't wait for the next 3 sessions.
And do you know what? That's what I love about this. I never set out to create brilliant businesses. That wasn't the aim. I wanted to help humans be better humans.
Yeah, nice.
That was it. Because all of that will spin off into business, won't it? But actually That's the accreditation the course needs for me. I'm having a better conversation with my kids. I'm having better conversations with my mates. I'm having better conversations with myself. If that's what we do and that's how we do it, that's literally why a movement works. It's why Powered by Mates is Powered by Mates. It's why it's not a business model. It's about, that's the KPI in it. What am I getting out of this? I'm becoming a better dad. That's miles better than becoming a better CEO, isn't it?
Absolutely.
If I'm a better dad and I'm a better parent, all of those things will spin off into the spaces I operate, of which one might just happen to be work. Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. Appreciate that, both of you.
So thank you for letting us be part of that.
And it's accessible to all.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Go on it.
So go on it.
Do
Yeah.
it.
How do people find you? How do people get onto your program?
We've kept it as simple as we possibly can. So sixconnections.co.uk is the website that covers all the stuff that we do. Powered by Mates is the tagline, and it's everything across our social media as well. We wanted that to be the key bit. But I want people to have a chat. So hello@sixconnections.co.uk. Drop us an email, reach out in a direct message on LinkedIn, however that is. At the moment, because of who we are and how we do it, you get me, and that's brilliant. That's what I want it to be. So the more chats we can have, this isn't about selling a business course. This is about people interacting, going, how can I be better in this space to help a few people that I care about? So reach out. We'd love to have a natter.
And just very finally, I don't know, a minute. Talk to us about Burnley Football Club.
Okay. This is an interesting one. Yeah, so we are the chosen charity this year of Burnley Football Club, which again is a very Six Connection story. It came on the back of we have a beer called Proper Natter in a pub round the corner from Burnley Football Club called the Royal Dash, quite famous. Justine, the landlady, is just a big advocate. She put us forward to a fans forum who voted unanimously for us to be the charity of choice with the football club, which they've done a few times before. So we had a fixture a few weeks ago, the Chelsea fixture, which was quite hard for me to watch as an Arsenal fan, but there we are. And we had all the Six Connections and Powered by Mates stuff floating around the stadium on all the advertising. Quite an emotional thing, but I kind of went, brilliant. What does this look like after this game? Because for me, this is like, I've been trying to get into football and it's not an easy thing to get into. I've been trying to get in for years. This is a bit of a tick box for me. But what happens when I'm not here next week? So we've created this thing called Talk on the Turf, which is just designed for us and the football club and the community side of the club to think about where are people having these conversations. So we've had an opportunity to be in the fan zone. I've got a conversation with the stewards in a couple of weeks. We're going into schools. I've done their podcast. I've been into one of their kind of over 60s social prescribing groups and talked about my experience. Why? Because all of those people have got a different experience. But in a town like Burnley, where more than a quarter of the population are on that football ground every Saturday, that's where we need to be. So that's where we're going to be. So yeah, football's the next thing. Talk on the turf, whatever that looks like in football stadiums around the country. Amazing. That would be a brilliant thing.
Wonderful way.
Incredible. Final question. Who should we have in the hot seat where you are now that's inspired you, or that you see in the leadership space? It's not just talking about it, but he's actually doing something.
I've just mentioned her, actually. I think she'd be ace to get on. So Justine, the landlady of the Royal Dash. So again, very, very quick story, but it was one of the ropiest pubs in Burnley before she took over. And she took over when she was only really young. She did it as a favour of her dad, and has converted this pub into the most brilliant, recognised fan space for people around the country. She changed the name of the pub because Sean Dyche got Burnley into Europe and all this kind of stuff. But the way, not only that she's created a business, but the way that she leads her teams is amazing, because it's still in a ropey part of Burnley. And when I've been in and watched the way that her staff care for the regulars and care for the people that come in, it's just awesome leadership. Her story is amazing. The way she's inspiring people is ace. And she's just a big advocate for what we do. Anybody that puts pint called Proper Natter behind the bar is all right by me. So yeah, she would come on and tell a brilliant story, and she probably leads in ways that she doesn't realise. So yeah, it'd be good for her as well, I think.
Brilliant.
We should go and film at the pub.
Let's do that.
She would be up for that. I mean, to be honest, she's had like Ian Wright and Gary Neville and people in, so it'd be nice to get a higher level, wouldn't it? And get you two guys in.
Thank you,
That'd be
Dave.
wonderful.
Thank you.
She would be up for that. That sounds
We
like a
love
great
you.
thing. Live from the Royal Dash. Sold.
Love it.
With a pint.
Thanks so much, Dave.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lee.
That's it for this week's edition of Leadership Actually. Join us next time.